Hey, what's good, everyone? Welcome back to another HVAC Success Secrets Revealed with Thaddeus and Evan, where we have good conversations with good people, and any good conversation worth having is worth having drunk. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, buddy.
Good to see you.
That's a big glass.
It's a thick glass today. I'm dressed up because I actually came from a celebration of life, and so toasting to my friends.
There you go.
So there we go. But I'm excited for this conversation. Michelle's been someone that I've wanted to have on the show for, gosh, when did we first talking about it? Like last year?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's been a while. A tremendous person in the industry. She's making a huge impact. I've actually spoken to some of her clients, and I don't even think she knows this because I hopped onto this a little bit late, but they have raving things to say about her coaching. She's making a big impact in a lot of businesses and really helping a lot of people. But she got into the trade as a general manager. Well, first as an office manager, then a general manager, had a big impact, was at a company for 7.5 years before moving over to Profit Rocket and helping out with Absolutes coaching, and is just making waves in the industry. So I'm super jacked for this conversation.
Yeah, me too. And seeing and hearing some of the stuff from the Profit Rocket event down in Las Vegas, and just the knowledge that she possesses within the industry from an operational standpoint is superb, fascinating, phenomenal, and can't wait to dive into all those good details.
100%. But before we get to that, we've got to give a word to our sponsors. Big shout out to Sera first. Thad, go ahead.
So, all right, Sera Systems, that's me. That's my readout job. So if you haven't heard of Sera Systems, they are basically a field service management software that helps businesses get profitable. And the thing that I like about what they do is they have a real-time job time efficiency within their software, a whole bunch of other host of things. The icing on the cake, though, is that average users have an average increase in revenue of 52% within the first 6 months. And some of those businesses have more than doubled their profits. So, of course, if you want to get in touch with them and tour their software, sales.sera.tech/HVAC-revealed to double your profits.
Love it. And of course, other sponsor of the show, none other than Profit Rocket, the organization that Michelle happens to be a part of. Not the reason she's on the show, though. Profit Rocket, if you haven't heard of them, it's Victor Rancourt, it's Michelle, and the company that they're running is absolutely incredible. The impact that they're making, like I said, making massive waves throughout the industry. But if you want to learn what it is that Victor did to grow his company from $0 to $40 million, not just in top line revenue, but bottom line profits, and really make an impact on your business, go to callprofitrocket.com, check out the business blueprint, get your demo booked, and check it out, because it will make massive, massive, massive differences in your business in 2023 and beyond. And of course, the thing we're going to be talking about today is their upcoming event that they have on January 27th in Orange County, which is the Women in Charge Seminar and Workshop. And we're definitely going to be diving into all of that today. Let's go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to HVAC Success Secrets Revealed, a show where we interview industry leaders and disruptors, revealing the success secrets to create and unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Now your hosts, Thaddeus and Evan.
Michelle, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
You're very welcome. Yeah, like I said in the intro, I'm stoked for this conversation. I've heard so many amazing things about your coaching. I heard that you are John Maxwell certified as well. Been a follower of his for a long time. Yeah, tell us a little bit about your journey into the trades, how it all came about, and then starting with Profit Rocket and joining Victor and creating this amazing organization.
Yeah, definitely. So I actually entered into the trades when I was working in a safety supply company, running a massive division. It was a very large industrial safety supply company. And I always joke around and say, like, yeah, I've been involved in exciting trades forever, because clearly I've been hopping from one fun thing to another one. But I got recruited in the industry as an office manager for a little mom and pop, and really just kind of became obsessed with like operational excellence, so I was a part of a lot of different best practice groups, and just really wanted to create this well-oiled machine that just ran so well without me. So I went from GM I went from office manager to GM and then COO after we did multiple acquisitions and ended a startup company. And then I just kind of like almost worked myself out of a job, really. The business was running so well without me that the owner and I could both leave in the middle of summer, and the operation just continued to work so well. And so I had obviously became John Maxwell certified. I became really interested and involved with mentoring up and coming leaders in the industry, specifically women, which we can get into later. But because of the struggles that I had gone through, I really just wanted to help other women. So in doing that, I ended up meeting Victor, not a woman, obviously, but
Wow.
meeting Victor.
I mean, he is in California. That's
You never know.
never know.
But I met Victor, and I kind of like explained to him what my passion was, and he confided in me some problems that he was having in his organization. So I ended up going and helping him out, and I just kind of shared with him what my dream was, which was to become a business coach and really help out the industry. And he's just was so incredible. He believed in me. He saw what I was able to do in his business, and just gave me the opportunity to really chase my dreams. And it's kind of skyrocketed from there very quickly. And now we started a company together, Profit Rocket, and that's just growing at tremendous speed as well. And we're just really doing awesome things. Fun fact about my last company. So the business was so operationally sound that to this day, they still haven't replaced me. They don't have a GM or a COO, and the business is still running that smoothly. So that's an incredible fact of what operational processes can do for your business.
I think that's the dream for just about every business, is to get to that point.
Right.
It is.
I would love
It
to
is.
replace that, but we're definitely not at that point yet.
I mean, to replace me is to like just have me out of the business and continue to do what I do and still collect a paycheck. Let's be clear here.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I guess one of the questions that comes to mind then is around that operational excellence, that idea of building a well-oiled machine that can run without you, whether you're there or not. I think that's the dream of just about every entrepreneur when they're getting into business, and yet so few actually achieve it. What is it that you feel like is the biggest obstacle that gets in people's way that they never actualize that dream?
If we're being frank, which I've been kind of advised that's fine, I'll say the business owner. I mean, they're always in their own way. And like all of the content in the blueprint, I say that very clearly too, that you have to be able to get out of your own way and recognize when you're the problem, because a lot of times business owners are the problem. I find that most successful business owners or not are driver dreamers. They're very good at dreaming big dreams. They're not necessarily the person that's the facilitator, the details, right? And so you got to stay in your lane. You find people who are good at what you're not so good at doing. Like me and Victor, we complement each other so well because he's that driver dreamer and I'm the implementator and facilitator. And, you find somebody and you let them do their thing, and focused around processes, obviously, and operational strength. But you get the hell out of their way, because if you don't, then you'll never achieve that.
I love it.
My question around that, and so like you talked about the implementer, and like I think of EOS and the entrepreneur's operating system, and having an integrator and implementer, having the dreamer. You can look at the Colby A index and having somebody that's high in quick start or somebody that's high in follow through, and all these different tests to be able to find that out. I mean, that's obviously one way to be able to kind of semi answers my question. But the other part is, so you're an HVAC business owner. You don't have much. Let's say you don't have much skill in analyzing individuals and finding the right type of a talent to be able to find this implementer or integrator within your business. Where do you start to look for that person? And what do you look for in qualities for an operational excellent person?
Well, I think there's multifold there. Obviously, if you're a small business, like to your point, like you're not going to be able to just go out and, hire an extremely high caliber person probably, but there's ways to bring people on and then mentor and develop them by being a good leader yourself. And you're looking just for personality traits, obviously. Any of those tests you take, and it's crazy because I've taken like all of them. And people always want to give me tests. It's so weird. I met Wyatt Hempworth and he was like, here, take a test. But that's how it always is. Everyone's curious about what my codes are and whatever. But, you focus on the personality test because that's what you're looking for, is a specific personality. And I always recommend that people hire like yin and yang, like you got to have somebody who complements your personality. Too often business owners say, okay, I'm going to bring in a GM who is so much like me or who has that same, exact drive that I have. And then you end up like butting heads, So where do you find that person? I mean, I think you develop that person, you look for the traits, and somebody who just naturally is a natural born leader and who has the personality traits, and then you invest in them. And then you create this beast, so to speak, that you're looking for.
Well, the other nice part about that is that when you develop in-house, now you can potentially eliminate some of the bad habits that they might have brought from a previous organization that you don't want in your business, right? Breaking those habits can be extremely difficult. Where we've talked about it a lot on the show with a lot of great individuals. Is where do you find the best techs? Well, hire them green, because now you can train them how you want to train them and how you want them to operate. They don't come with these preconceived bad notions and habits.
100%.
At what point did you get into coaching? Was that something like as you were transitioning from office manager to general manager? Is that when you took the coaching test, or John Maxwell?
No, I think when I started getting into coaching was after I was already COO. I think I'm just very non-complacent. So like once I had gotten the organization and the sister organization and everything to a certain point, I just needed to do more, so I always look inside, I need to develop myself more. And in doing so, that kind of opened up a lot of doors, I guess, to meeting other people who are struggling. Where my dream to become a business coach came from was as I'm, mentoring other leaders in the space, they're telling me about their problems within their business, because even if I'm trying to do personal coaching or leadership coaching, like it still leads into what's going on in the business. So they're telling me about these problems and I'm just like, ooh, do this, ooh, do that. Like, and then I realized, I have this wealth of knowledge that really has been, maximized, I guess, in the organization I'm in. So how can I use that to help other organizations that don't have this operational strength that my company has?
Gotcha. So with your role now as a business coach, if I'm a company that isn't necessarily overly large, so I'm, maybe $1 million, $2 million, somewhere in that range, would it be better for me to bring on a business coach who can help me implement some of these operational practices? Or would it be better to bring in a business coach to help me find that operational person who can come in and help me implement it? Like, where do you feel like that strategy is best going to be suited for that business owner?
I mean, that was kind of the idea behind the blueprint. Number one, because Victor and I were only 2 people and we were stretched so thin. Like I spent the last year and a half running myself literally ragged, which is why, wanted me on the show or not, I could never have been. I've had a lot of podcast requests and I didn't have time, honestly. But we thought, how can we help a lot more people and just give them everything that they need and not have to run ourselves ragged, So having a business coach, yes, is great depending on if you're ready for that. And I don't mean financially. I mean, I have a client who a year ago started working with me. He was at 300,000, had been at 300,000 for 5 straight years in a tiny market. His hometown that he lives in is like 4,000 people. Like it's small. And he's finishing at like 2.6 million this year in 1 year. So, I mean, like in a small market. And so, I don't think size matters. I hate saying that as a female, but I don't really think it matters. I don't think it matters, like, you know, as far as like when it's the right time. I think it's like you're looking for the tools, you know, you find something like the blueprint where everything's there and at your disposal and you can self-motivate. But if it's something that's like, I need someone to kick my butt, you know, to help me, push me along, hold me accountable, then you look at business coaching. But you don't have to wait till you're a certain size. You just have to wait till you're mentally ready to actually put in the work and stop making excuses, I think.
Well, when the student is ready, the master appears. You know,
Yes.
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 Yeah. Hey, look, Evan,
I
I can
mean,
come up with some good quotes every now and again too. I don't know who said it, but
and I
maybe
mean, like,
Confucius.
I'm like so selective now with who I like. When I first got into coaching, of course, I took on any client, but I don't do that anymore because, you know, honestly, I'm not in the business to take people's money. I'm in the business to change lives. And if you're not ready for your life to be changed, if you're not ready to put in the hard work, then we're not like, I can do better things with my time, and so can you.
Right.
So
So I want to kind of explore that a little bit in terms of like, all right, well, you've got this business who thinks they want to grow, but they might not quite be ready, or they think they're ready and they have the mindset to be able to do that. And when you look at, you know, coaching and all that comes involved with it, I mean, obviously the person has to be ready. And if you're having a conversation with somebody, how can you determine how they are ready and their mindset is there to be able to say, all right, let's go?
I was hoping you'd ask me that. Like, I was waiting and thinking like this where he's going, and I'm glad you did go there, because I don't, if I ask somebody, if I come out and ask them, are you ready? Like, yes, I'm ready. Like, they're always going to say yes. If I ask them if they're going to work hard, they're going to say yes every time. So I don't ask those questions. I ask questions that will reveal the answer to me, which, you know, are sneaky, well, without giving away all my tricks, but
Yeah, I was
I
going to
ask,
say, what are some of those questions? But
well, I ask questions like, what do you think the problems are within your organization and why do you think they exist? And what I'm looking for when I ask those questions are whether someone's going to deflect the blame or accept the blame themselves, because ultimately everything rises and falls on leadership. And if you can't accept blame for the issues in your organization, you're pointing fingers, like you're not ready mentally to put in the work or to accept that you might be the problem. And trust me, every single one of my clients will tell you, like, if they probably already have if you talk to them, that I kick them in the butt, because I'm not going to sugarcoat and say like you're not a problem if you're a problem, you know. Some I have to coddle a little bit more than others, but I tell them the truth because I'm not doing them favors or myself as their coach, you know. So I just get very creative about the questions that I ask them, and just I look for specific things like blame deflection, because that's a dead giveaway that you're just not there yet.
Okay, well, let's flip the roles then, instead of giving away your trade secrets in terms of the questions that you asked. But as a business owner, what kind of sneaky questions could you ask to help identify if you've got the right person sitting in your office that you should hire?
So I love that question too. And I actually just did a section about onboarding, like what are you looking for in every role? What questions should you ask during interviews and stuff? And I always say like that you never just ask direct questions. It's the same thing.
Yep.
You're asking them questions to get them to figure out how their brain works and how their, I guess, how the inner workings are, so you know how they deal with like conflict resolution and how they deal with problems and things like that. Because there's certain things you can coach and teach, and I don't like steer away from wrong answers or whatever. I'm looking for specific things, and that's what you as a business owner should be looking for. Specific things where you say, okay, this person's coachable, moldable, trainable, you know. And if they're like stubborn and stuck in their ways, then obviously that's not going to be the right person that I want to bring on my team to abide by my core values and my standards.
Oh, that makes sense. I love that. The other thing that you mentioned was getting selective about clients, and I had a question around that too.
Sure.
And obviously it makes a lot of sense from your standpoint, because you're one person and the amount of time that you have is limited on a daily basis, which is why the blueprint is such a powerful tool, because now you can get essentially one-on-one coaching for a fraction of the cost and have all of the processes in place that you can implement that are gaps in your business right now. Little plug there, calls profitrocket.com. Go check it out. But
it's true.
It's 100% true. As a business owner, though, especially in any of the trades, right? Electrical, plumbing, solar, HVAC, we can be a little bit less selective because, well, we've got a lot of vans that we can have running calls. And yet at the same time, when it comes to the busiest time of year, we want to be selective because there's only so many slots that we have available, so many technicians that we have to run calls. I'm curious how you go about training and coaching your clients to get over that mindset of we have to get to every call to we have to get to the right call.
Oh, I love that. And you're right. That is something like a beat in their heads because, and I always say this, like, no matter how big you are or small you are, you'll never have enough bandwidth because the bigger you get, the more popular you are, you'll never have enough call or enough bandwidth to run all of the calls. So you got to get that out of your mind immediately. Like it's about quality, not quantity. So, how I usually convince them of like, this is like, got to get stuck in your mind is I show them the numbers. See, a lot of business owners are not don't have the financial awareness that they need to have. So numbers don't lie. When I'm able to like really show them, what happens if they make X changes in their business, or even if they increase efficiency and they're not taking 2 days on 1 day installs, things like that. It's just crazy. You almost see the fireworks going off right in front of you. Mm-hmm. And it's like, wow, I've been messing this up. I'm like, yes, you have.
Yeah. 100%.
Again, don't sugarcoat it.
Right.
Well, they're not paying you to sugarcoat it, right?
No.
They're paying you to get a result. And
I love that you said that because guess what my asshole trainer said to me the other morning? Like he was like, oh, we're going to do something fun on the fourth rep or the fourth set. And I'm like, what's that? And he's like, tells me, I go, that's not fun. And he's like, if you wanted fun, then you should have paid to go to a playground. I'm like,
I mean,
so you're right. I got to come up with something funny like that to say to my coaching.
But you are right. I mean, like you look at, I use sports as an example, right? A lot of people can relate to that, whether you're a fan or whether you're a player. The coach that you respect more as a sports player is the coach that isn't always the easiest, but they're also tough on you, right? Yeah. You also have that compassion, but they also push you and challenge you. If you have a coach that says everything's all hunky-dory and they don't ever push you and don't ever challenge you, fire that coach immediately and find somebody that will push and challenge you. Because if they're not pushing and challenge you, you're not going to actually get better.
And that's the thing is like, I think of even the progression in my career. And I think if I had never been pushed or challenged, like I would never be where I am today. Like I would have just been, stuck back doing whatever. Like even in my challenges and struggles in the trades, being a female leader, a strong female leader, thinking of everything I've gone through, like I use that to fuel me into the person that I am today versus, allowing it to, I guess, deter me and like, just, I'm going to stay in my comfort zone.
Yeah. And then no progress, no growth will ever come from that.
Yeah.
Right.
We need challenge in our life.
Absolutely.
1,000%. So here's a challenge. Our random question generator is part of the fun. One of my most favorite parts of the show. Actually, the whole show is fun. But the random question generator is just that. It is a random question that has nothing to do with anything that we're talking about right now. We have 3 questions queued up on the back end. You do not get to see what those questions are. You just get to choose. Do you want question 1, 2, or 3?
3 is my go-to number. So
3 is your go-to number.
I'm scared.
It's actually this one. I came up with this one myself. I'm actually quite pleasantly surprised with myself that you chose it, and quite humbled. What is your favorite who is your favorite cartoon character and why?
Favorite cartoon character. Oh man. You had to ask this on the day I'm like brain dead from filming all day. I'm like, what's a cartoon character? I don't know. Man. I'm going to take it old school. I'm going to say Aladdin.
Oh, that is a good one. That is an old
That's
school one. Yeah.
that's like all-time favorite movie as a child. I aged myself horribly there. But Aladdin is a gangster who chases his dreams, and so I feel like we all got that, scrappiness in us somewhere. And look, paid off for him.
Right. It definitely did. So that's a good answer. I like how you even brought it to the gangster scrapper who chases his dreams. So even better.
He didn't let anyone tell him no. See
Nah,
that?
it was exactly right. He's like,
Not even
how
the
can I?
genie.
Right? Not even the genie.
Yes.
Found his
So
way
there you
around
go.
the way to make the princess fall in love with him. So
Yeah.
he figured
Yeah,
it out.
without asking the
a
genie.
solution.
Yeah.
Always a solution.
Plus,
So
he
is-
freed the genie. Plus, he freed the genie.
Exactly.
Yeah, so-
Yep.
Which,
So
in this case, her work frees the business owner.
Exactly.
Yep.
There you go.
100%.
I was just going to ask. So in this case, are you the genie for the businesses?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
so.
There you go. Perfect.
I guess so. I always thought of myself as a large blue blob. Just kidding.
Oh, I love it. Well, let's get into the event that you've got coming up. So I'm curious where the inspiration was for the Women in Charge event. Why is it that you felt compelled to put this on?
So I always say in any class, speech, whatever, that one of my strongest whys is to light the way for other up and coming female leaders in the industry. I feel extremely passionate about that. Since Vegas, though, specifically, because, I was the only female to speak alone on the main stage, and the amount of feedback that I got, in such positive feedback from from everyone, but the females specifically, them telling me like that it really touched them so much that I talked about my struggles and all of these things. I just thought, like, you know what? I need to do more. If I can get this kind of response from one event, just in one speech, 45 minutes, I need to do more. And so I collaborated with some of the other female leaders who are friends of mine in the industry. And I just said, hey, like, I want to do something special. Victor and I will cover the cost. Like, he's more than happy to support whatever I want to do, which I love. And I said, I just really want to give back. I want to help other people come up with a plan, other ladies come up with a plan to identify their goals and to achieve them. And let's do this. And they were all like super on board, like awesome. Like, I want to be a part of this. It's great.
Amazing.
Well, and looking at some of the speakers that you have on there are just, the powerhouses, right? Amanda
Yeah.
Triolo needs no introduction. Grasshopper Heating and Cooling, Stacey Ford, Chasey Packard, the COO on the other side of One Stop. When you see Jeff and Sera Melendez, Legionnaire Texas, like, you've got a great lineup of some powerhouses to be able to really help elevate.
Yeah, and I just thought, we have this like opportunity. It's not always about money, it's about impact. And like, with the blueprint stuff going, and I stopped doing on sites for now, at least probably until I start fiending. But I took a step back so I could do higher level things. And so one of the things I wanted to do was invest some time into giving back and making an impact. And we actually have some cool things brewing that I can't really talk about yet, but one of the things was the ladies, and I love, like, there's so many powerhouses in this industry that people just don't even know about. And so my goal over 2023 is to really collaborate with a lot of them doing big things in the industry that people just don't know about because they're not loud on social media, and really try to, like, collaborate together and do something really cool and keep giving back to the industry.
Amazing.
I want to touch on something not loud on social media for a second. And the reason I want to touch on that, and this actually came from going to Phoenix for the Women in HVACR event down there, and chatting with some of the phenomenal individuals across all different, parts of an organization, whether they were, in the field, in the office, in the supply area, in, the operational side of things. It didn't really matter. But one of the things that they had talked about was the Facebook groups specifically, and how they actually left some of the Facebook groups because they didn't feel like there was great positivity behind that. And I just want to caution people that when they look at social media and when they look at what people are seeing, when they're looking at what people are doing, look at it through a lens and filter out those sorts of things, because there are people that are going to be loud and they're going to be the most boisterous. And oftentimes they might not, and sometimes they don't even give the best advice either. So also look at that through a lens as well. Since you mentioned that, when you're looking at that, what are some of your thoughts around looking at that and finding ways to cipher through all of the vast amount of information that people chime in on, especially in Facebook groups?
Oh, that's really, really, really tough. I have a very love-hate relationship with Facebook. Like, I think it's a necessity, but I don't love it for that reason. I don't love the facade that is most often brought forward. I don't like the pettiness. So for me, instead of getting like so caught up in it and like making myself crazy, like I really have distanced myself. I use it because I know like it's a great platform for, me to be present on, especially if I'm fighting for, a good cause or trying to help others. But at the same time, it's really hard not to get like caught up in the drama and the, facades that are being thrown in your face everywhere. I consider the source, I'll say that. When I'm filtering through things, I consider the source, and I'm a very, very objective person by nature. I look at everything like a chessboard, like I can see like all the moves, so like for me, I think it's easier because I know what the move that they're trying to make, by whatever it is that they're putting on there. But I do understand where some people are coming from, and how they could steer away from some of that stuff. I think it's all just really understanding the source and the quality of the information that's being provided to you, and looking at track records, I guess. It's tough. I mean, that's a tough question because it is hard. The deeper I get into the industry and the more I learn of others' intentions and who they really are, I think it's easier for me to be like objective about that stuff, but it's hard.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also like it's especially even with like I shouldn't bring this up. I really, really shouldn't bring this up, but I think also the difficult thing is the battle of the sexes, because that's a thing, it really is a thing. And I feel like sometimes, I try to say this very vaguely, but I feel like sometimes the women fight so hard for their cause that they don't realize that we're almost like undoing what they're fighting for, because they become so passionate about it and they take this stance that almost like undoes the equality that they're fighting for. And I feel like that's very difficult to see for me too, which is why I've kind of just decided to like try to make an impact in that space myself, instead of just getting involved in already all of the other existing things, and just stay genuine and true to myself and my cause, and try to keep it as PC as possible, and not like fight this battle of the sexes. Like I just want to fight for women, but I'm not fighting against men just because I am. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
100%. Like just because you support one cause doesn't mean you don't support any
Yeah.
other, right?
And that's what I feel like it gets pretty ugly on there. The attacks, like we want to be treated equally and we want a place at the table. Yes, that of course. But at the same time, that doesn't mean we attack people because they didn't invite a woman to speak at their event, or, I decide to throw a women's seminar and like, why do we need our own seminar? Like, it's hard. It's difficult. I feel like the like politics involved in all of that stuff these days. I'm like, I just want to do good for the industry, and I'm not trying to go against any other causes. You know what I mean? Like I support everybody equally.
Right. Well, and I mean, the event that ruffled a lot of feathers, that's going to be happening in a few months. It was interesting because the first initial comments on there were like, hey, I'm just curious about, right? Like they were very subtle. It was not very aggressive, but then it was the pushback that they got from other people that then it got real aggressive and in a hurry. And it was rightfully so, because some of those comments were downright obnoxious and abusive and ridiculous and very blindsided. And I supported all of them fighting back for it, because I think it was needed to be said and also needed to be recognized. So, and I totally understand your point. I get it. And even Stephanie in the comments here, Stephanie Webb Postel, who we had on the show while we were in Phoenix, and my mouse isn't working properly, so I can't even show it.
She is
there
awesome.
It is. She's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, she agrees.
Yep.
Loves all of this, right? Like you're bang on. So,
and yeah, funny, bring up Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. Yeah, I'm going to actually contact her next week. I want her to be a part of our event too coming up. Yeah, total rock star.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that that's the biggest thing, is to understand that like my intentions and my mission to help other women in the industry has nothing to do with this like vendetta against the men or whatever's happening over here. Like it is purely just to help people. Like comments were made like, well, we have a lot of female groups, and I thought like in the last almost 8 years, I've never been invited to one single females group on Facebook. Can you believe that? Until recently, I just got invited to Lady Titan. But like I had never been invited to a single group. So I thought, if I can't be the only one, I'm kind of like in the limelight a little bit. Like there's got to be a lot of people who, you know, aren't involved. So how do I help all of those people who haven't been lended like a helping hand? Does that make sense?
100%. Well, even the Women in HVACR event, like there were a lot of people that I talked to after the event. They had no idea that it was even happening. They didn't know it existed.
I didn't know either. Otherwise, I would have actually loved to have gone. I didn't know until it was happening already.
Totally.
And I think that like when you have those conversations about the event, now that we're finding out about more and more and more about it, you know, next year's event for the Women in HVACR is going to be even bigger, because now everybody has, you know, talked about it a lot more and spread the word. I mean, that group has been around for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, I think it's such a great group, and I'd love to see anything like that where you know, women feel very included. I think it's awesome. You know, you think about like the struggles that so many people, and now I know like so many people have shared the same struggles I've shared, because I guess I wasn't scared to speak about it in public, you know? And so now all of these women are coming to me and saying like, hey, like, you know, I felt that way too. I just didn't know I could speak about it. So, I mean, anywhere where we can help and support other women, I think is amazing. Men too, of course. Like obviously, I have a million men clients too. So,
did you want to talk about some of those struggles right now for those that missed the event and weren't able to be there in Vegas?
Yeah, sure.
Before we get that, just before, sorry to interrupt, I do want to say for their event that you guys have, call profitrocket.com/5755-2 is the, I don't know why it's numbers, but
I was going to say, should probably fix that URL structure.
Text space is not my space.
No, so call profitrocket.com/5755-2 if you want to find out more about their Women in Charge workshop.
Yeah, we'll put the link in the show notes.
It's totally free. We do have some awesome people sponsoring it, but ultimately Profit Rocket is sponsoring it. It's at a beautiful place in Southern California, Paseo Hotel and Spa. Like, it's just going to be a really, really awesome time, and just our gift to you ladies. So please sign up. We'd love to have you there.
Love it. Struggles.
Now back to
yeah. So, I mean, they generally, when I talk about my struggles, it's not to like focus on the struggle aspect of it, like poor pitiful me. Like I feel like if anything, it's just made me a better person, stronger person, better leader. But I share them because they're real, they exist, and I'm sure a lot of other people have experienced them too. But you know, just being a a blonde female in this industry, I mean, either I'm being treated like, a dumb blonde or a piece of meat, and there was like no in between, And there were so many times where I'd be going out to all of these like trade shows or like small training events for all these different best practice groups I was part of. And I'm getting looked at like I must be a lost CSR. And even some people asked me that before. So, I mean, just the amount of negativity that I had to combat from both my team, at the very beginning, like they didn't want to hear from this lady who's never done an install or, worked on a unit, to all these men in the industry. I mean, it was rough. And there was a point early on when I just decided like I can either walk away and go do something that would make me more comfortable, or I can fight and be successful and not let anybody stop me from chasing my dreams. And I did just that, obviously. And it was just so funny, my moment where I knew like I'd finally persevered past it all was when I started like getting on breaks, like I'm in these classrooms, tons of men, hundreds of men in these rooms. And I'm just sitting in the front, raising my hand, like spouting all this knowledge out. And then I start getting all these job offers on breaks and lunches, all these people are trying to recruit me. And I thought, same people who were snubbing me now are like dying to hire me, and it was just cool. It like really just came full circle. And then in my company too. But I mean, it's crazy the amount of like negativity or people or women who have been convinced that all they can be is a CSR or a secretary. They can never go on to be this COO or whatever of a company. And so that's why I more openly talk about it now, only because I want to encourage people to whatever their dream looks like. If it's to be a CSR, awesome. If it's to be a COO, awesome. Let me help you get there.
Run your own company. Awesome.
Yeah,
Right.
hell yeah. Which is what I love so much about Amanda. Like she's such a badass.
Totally.
It's great.
Yeah. No, it's
Well,
true.
you mentioned.
Go ahead, bud.
No, you go.
I was just gonna say it's true. It's unfortunate and it's frustrating that I mean, even still today, we just had Shreya on from Service MVP, and same type of thing where she's dealing with these same comments of, well, you're the pretty one, so you don't know much. They're there. It's okay, right? And I mean, she's incredibly knowledgeable. She's incredibly talented. She's helped so many businesses. Stephanie Gorton, same thing, incredibly knowledgeable, helped out so many businesses. Like, oh gosh, the amount of women that we've had on the show just in this last year that are impactful business owners, vendors, operation managers, doesn't matter. They've had tremendous impact in businesses, and it offers such a different dynamic and impact into your business by having women involved in it.
It does.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I love. Like, I don't. I was going to say that's one thing like that I love so much about Victor. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I don't know if people just don't know him. Like, know Victor, like who he is. And yes, he's changed a lot since we've been partnered. And even just since we've been friends, I like to think that's because of me. But he's changed for the better. And but I mean, he's always just been so like supportive of like female leaders. And I don't know like if there's like a misconception out there, because I see little comments about things, and I just think like that's never been my experience. Like ever since he met me and saw what I could do, what I brought to the table, he was just like, dude, she's a badass. Like she knows way more than me. Like I'd be retarded without her. Like those are his quotes. And so I just think like, like it's incredible. Well, I mean, he knows it. It's true. I'm not gonna deny that. But
I was gonna say he's retarded even with or without you.
But
I joke, Victor.
But I mean, I think it's so incredible, like the amount of supporting that he does, and that I never felt like I had to like fight to like prove, who I was or what I brought to the table. And I think as a whole, like I say this very carefully, but I think as a whole, like that the mindset has shifted tremendously. Like even some of the people who were labeled, sexist or whatever they're labeled, they've really come around even and like reached out to me as of recently and said, hey, I want to offer my support,
Amazing.
So I think it's great. I really do. I think, yes, the battle's probably still going to continue, but I see a positive change happening in the industry. Yes, there's always going to be, you know, that it's going to exist, but at the same time, if we're moving in the right direction, like, I think it's great. I really do.
Yep. Agreed.
I also agree. 100%. Well, it's funny, there's the one thing that I was going to say earlier is you wanted to light the way for other females, but at the same time, when we talked about the social media, is not getting too involved in the political side of things. I mean, put your head down, go to work, and let your work speak for yourself, and have that recognition based on what you can actually do, not just the, hey, it's because I'm here. No, it's because of the work that you've been able to put into it. And when we continue to show up in the way that we want others to see us, it's going to take a little bit longer of a time frame to change. But when you get there, when you have that, it's going to last a lot longer by just showing up the way you want others to be seen.
Oh, I absolutely couldn't agree more. And it's crazy because I always considered I'm not a loudmouth on social. I pretty much stay in my own lane and mind my own business for the most part. I have moments, but most part. But it's crazy, even in the past year, how many big names, people who I never even really knew that, thought that they knew I existed, really, have reached out to me and just complimented what they watched me being able to do and accomplish over, even in the last year and a half. And it's just really, really cool because, to your point, let your actions speak, let your work speak, and let people see you in that way. And they do actually see you, whether you realize it or not. It's crazy. I mean, there's people who've come up to me and said, like you just said, I talked to a bunch of your clients and I had no idea that was even happening, and then they're complimenting my work or hey, you want to collaborate on this or do this or whatever. But I mean, I think it's awesome. I think we focus on, what we're able to do in a positive light and just let that speak instead of taking these crazy stances.
Right. Yeah, we had a mentor that both Thad and I remember something that he taught me early on was if you just put your head down and pretend you're a horse running a race, you put the blinders on so you can't see anything else that's around you, and you just work your ass off for 2 years and then look up, it'll be crazy where it is that you're at.
It's so true. It's so true. It's almost unbelievable what you can do just by running yourself ragged for a little bit.
Right.
But that also goes back in to the social media conversation, and one that we had with Steve Akian when he was on the show as well, and numerous others, but that one's the most fresh in my mind. That when you see what's happening on there, don't compare what you're doing to what others are doing, right? Because when you do that, you're not going to have internal happiness. When you run your own race, you focus on your own goals and what you want to accomplish and what you need. The individual that you mentioned earlier was at 300,000. You know what? You might be completely happy being a one-man band, trucking a truck, doing 300,000 per year. Great, awesome. I'm happy and amazing for you. If you want to go beyond that, then run your own race and figure out what you need to do in order to be able to get to where you want to go. Not what others are doing, but what you want to do.
Exactly. And it's your end game that matters. And I think you have to establish that, what does that look like? What am I trying to even accomplish? And also understanding that half the stuff you see is inflated for social media anyway, which even reminds me of back when Victor started being open about his struggles on Facebook. I told him, I was encouraging him for a while to be real with people, because you think about this little $300,000 a year person watching what Victor's doing and thinking he never struggles. And then you're down on yourself thinking, why am I struggling so bad to even hit $1 million? And he's over here doing 30 in 2 years. That's not real. People can't relate to that. They don't understand it. So I said, you gotta be real. You gotta humble yourself. Set your ego to the side for a second, show people what it's really like and what you've been able to do, even despite all of the struggles that you faced. And I think something incredible happened when he decided to talk openly about it. And now he's speaking about it at events and things like that. And I'm just people love that. They love the realness because they can relate to that. You want to help people be real.
Yep.
And so that's how I stand. I mean, about that, you know, it's hard. You're right. What people see is very disheartening to them if they're not seeing realness.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They will fall in love with vulnerability always.
Yes.
I love it. We do have one final question for you. Before we do, we got to make sure that we give people all the different ways that they can get in touch with you. Michelle at callprofitrocket.com. So make sure you check that out. If you're not a part of their Facebook group yet, make sure you join that, facebook.com/service rocket group.
That's not their Facebook group. That's just
the Facebook
their
page. Okay, so that's the page. Get involved in the group as well, which I believe is just /group/service rocket or profit rocket.
I'll find it. I'll find it.
Good. The women's event, make sure you get in on that. Callprofitrocket.com/5755-2. No, that's not attached to Michelle's phone number. And callprofitrocket.com is the website. Go check it out. And if you're not a part of their group yet, go check it out because there's a ton of volume, a ton of nuggets that get involved in there. Yeah, I'm not saying that.
It's a long random number. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yes, absolutely. Go check out their group.
I'm like,
well.
yeah, don't try to.
No, definitely not. So Michelle, a final question for you. What is one question that you wished people would ask you more, but they don't?
Oh gosh. Could have prepped me on this one.
There is no prep in our shows.
Where's the fun in that?
What do I wish people would ask me? That's a really, really good question. I wish something was just like popping into my mind right now. Honestly, I don't know. This is horrible. This is what I was afraid of about the being brain dead from filming. I thought, man, I kind of did okay this whole time until now.
Done great. You've done great.
Yeah.
Especially, how many hours of filming today?
Since 9 a.m. and it's what, 3. So, I mean, a good amount. And we didn't stop like at all. My like legitimately, guys, my film guys are sleeping. Poor guys. Yeah, they're beat. I mean, we like when I go, I don't want to stop, you know.
Which is why you and Victor are so great together.
Yes, although I do have to make him pump the brakes sometimes. What do I wish people would ask me? Gosh, that's a really, really good question. I don't know. This is bad, you guys. I'm so sorry.
All right.
It's okay. This question stumps a lot of people.
Why don't I rephrase it in a different way? What is the one question that business owners should be asking you, but they're not even aware of it?
I don't know if that's better. I just feel like normally I would have like some majestic questions like to ask, but I don't. Man, I don't know. I really don't know.
All right.
I am so sorry. I feel terrible.
No, that's okay. No, don't.
And then the second it ends, I'm gonna be like,
of course. You're
That's the way it works. Yeah.
Feel free to throw it in the comments afterwards. All right. Well, why don't we finish off with this then? What is the one piece of advice that you want to leave people with heading into 2023?
So if I could pick one piece of advice aside from know your numbers, because my gosh, I say that until I'm blue in the face, would be to plan to succeed or you're planning to fail. Like you have got to map it out, budget, forecast, decide. First of all, decide what your vision is. Where are you trying to go? What are you trying to accomplish? Reverse engineer it, budget, forecast, figure out how much manpower you need, figure out what performance you need from your team. Really map that out, because even though that seems like a very basic concept, I think a lot of people skip over how actually important that is. And everything kind of falls into place when you really have that mapped out, because you have a gauge that you're always, comparing to. Like, it's just so difficult when you say, I want to do whatever, but you have no plan to do that. You really have to reverse engineer exactly what it's going to take. And honestly, if you have no idea how to do that, then you need to get the damn blueprint, because that thing is gold. Like what is in that blueprint is literally gold. Like, we have put so much time and effort into making this thing absolutely incredible. I still am. I'm still putting in content nonstop. So check it out, at least do a demo.
We had a sneak peek of it down in Vegas, and I took a look at it, and I was blown away at the information.
Thank you. Well, you
that
should
you
see
guys
it
have
now,
there.
because now it's
Oh, I
coming.
can
Like,
imagine. Yeah.
it's insane. And what we've discovered is everything is such, like, every topic is such a rabbit hole, because not only do we have to, like, go down rabbit holes to, like, if you're this size to this size and this size to this size, and that, but then it's like, but if this, then do this, and like, so we'll never be done filming. We'll never be done creating content and new tools to help people be successful. And the amount of knowledge that you're getting for it's like a no-brainer. It's crazy.
The choose your own adventure of coaching. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really, if I would have had something like this, like, I can't even imagine how powerful I would have become by now.
Right.
It's awesome.
Well, that's just it. I mean, the purpose of coaching in my mind is to stand on the shoulder of giants, right?
Yes.
To be able to take what it is that people have done before and speed up the process and turn decades into days. Right?
Yes. And you think about not even just experiences and what they were able to accomplish, but how much went into that. Like,
Mhm.
all of the mistakes we've made, all the money we've lost, how much we've invested into our own personal and professional development. Like, it's crazy what's involved in that.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Michelle, thank you so much for coming on, for joining us. Thank you so much for putting on the event. I think it's going to make a massive difference in a lot of people's lives. It's going to open up the eyes of some people who never knew that this type of support existed for women in the trades. It needs to get spoken about more. It needs to get shared more in so many different ways, and hopefully get in front of every single woman that is involved in the trades in some way, in some form, in some fashion, so that they can be impacted by you. So thank you so much.
I
for joining
certainly
us.
hope so. It'll be a dream come true for me. So thank you.
I love it. Awesome. Until next time.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, Michelle.
Bye. Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap on another episode of HVAC Success Secrets Revealed. Before you go, two quick things. First off, join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/HVAC Revealed. The other thing, if you took one tiny bit of information out of this show, no matter how big, no matter how small, all we ask is for you to introduce this to one person in your contacts list. That's it. That's all. One person. So they too can unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Until next time.